we ask right now that you will dwell in this place. Remove us and fill us this place with your Holy Spirit, Father God. Use us as a vessel as we share this story that we've been through. We just want to thank you, Father God, that we don't look like what we've been through. It's our prayer. Amen. Okay. So, first time for us, we've never actually preached together. We've presented at Fusion Intentional Families, but never actually preached. So, pardon our partial nerves, but we're here to do this. All right, so this is us. This is us. Anybody ever seen that show before?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Pastor Jessie has. She watches it all the time. She wants to have a This Is Us day for Fusion. Ladies, though, not the men. But
I like This Is Us.
oh, Hedron does. Hedron does. Hedron, just go to the next slide for us, please. So, everyone has a family, right? Everyone has a story, correct? We're all here because of our family. We're all there because of our story. So the TV show, This Is Us, it chronicles the Pearsons family across the decades. Okay, so the story bounces around. It shows how they initially had kids. They had triplets. One didn't make it, but there was a little boy who, and preface this was a Caucasian family, and there was a little boy who was African American who didn't have any parents. So they decided to adopt him as well. Okay? So the story bounces around and it talks about their kids, Kevin, Kate, and Randall. And they're searching for love and fulfillment in this present day. All right? So it shows how the events that we go through in life affect who we are later in life. All right? So let's go through who we are. Next slide.
Okay, so Steve and I met at Garden State Academy, August of 1995. It was like the first day of school, and usually at Garden State Academy, the first day of school you go on a field trip. So we were on this trip, and we had to walk side by side.
We were walking on the trail.
We were walking on a trail, and
I know the story better.
we were walking side by side, but you had to rotate and get to know other people. So it was sort of like an icebreaker. So here we are walking, and we met. Now Steve, for those of you who know him, he was really quiet, which is not who he is. So, you know, we're there, and I remember my friends and I saying, "Oh, he's so sweet, he's so quiet and shy." Okay, so it didn't last that long. We figured out very quickly that wasn't who Steve is. But yeah, we met in August of 1995, and then we started dating. September, I still remember our anniversary date, September 27, 1995. And we dated for 2 years.
Oh, it was I remember it.
We dated for 2 years. And then 2 years.
It was Nerd Day, come on.
2 years later, we broke up, and I went on to Oakwood. He still had 1 more year at Garden State Academy.
So, after the breakup, we lived life. She went her way, I went my way. So we had to grow up, right? We all had to grow up. All right, so this first text, it says, when I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. When I was a child, I thought and did. We're going to come back to that.
Now, while we were separated or we were broken up, no intentions of ever getting back together, God has a way of working things out. So I go to Oakwood, and the first Sabbath that I'm at Oakwood, the person that greets me and says, "Come over my house," is Steve's aunt. And And so I go to her house and I have lunch there. But I have lunch there every single Sabbath for the next 4 years. Not once did we ever miss. It was me, it started out with me, and then invite my roommate, Leanna, and then there were about 30 of us that ended up going to her house every single Sabbath. So, of course, I developed a very close relationship with Steve's family, because although it was just that one aunt, his entire family would come through and visit all the time.
Let's be clear, she was trying to get back at me, just putting it out there.
Also in the midst of that, I embraced single life. I was like, okay, well, I'm not, you know what, I'm gonna travel, I'm gonna take these dance classes, I'm gonna learn different things. And at the same time, Steve, during that time, left the church and explored life, as he says, in good and bad ways.
Yeah, so we both had relationships that we were involved in, and we tried doing things different, you know, because I'm a man now, right? I did away with childish things.
So 8 years go by, and we reconnect.
So we decide to get back together. Yeah, I didn't have hair at one point. God removed it and then gave it back. I don't look like what I used to. So we got married in June 24th, 2007. And this scripture here, it says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor from the Lord." Finds a wife, finds a good thing, finds favor from the Lord. So, we're married. This is our engagement session that we had. Yeah, she was digging me. Like that. And that's when we got married. And life was great. We thought, you know, woo, this is amazing. We're here to do this. We got this, you know. No one can tell us any different. Like, we got this.
And so during that time, also, we moved to Bermuda, and we travel. I mean, things are great. We're having such a great friendship. We hang out with other people.
Bible says in Genesis, "This is now the bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. For this reason, a man," so go back, put aside childish things, and became a man. "A man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Okay? So, one flesh. What is that? What does that look like? What does that look like? Because two people have to be together to be married, right? But you become one flesh. So think about that. Let that ponder in your head for a minute. What does that look like? So, the adventure begins. We travel the world. Pastor Jesse just got back from Italy. Most of the places she went to, we've been there, done that. We've traveled these, as you see, I'm a bike rider, so gotta take the bay on the bike rides. The middle one is also on the Rialto Bridge in Venice, Pastor Jesse, where you just came from. And then the last picture is us on your far right is us in Bermuda. And life was great. We grew together, everything was fun. It was the honeymoon. Everyone always talks about, right? It's the honeymoon.
And we wanted to share this verse because that's the honeymoon period. "May he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. Your oils have a pleasing fragrance. Your name is like purified oil. Therefore the maidens love you, draw me after you, and let us run together. The king brought me into his chambers. We will rejoice in you and be glad. We will extol your love more than wine. Rightly do they love you." Song of Solomon 1:2-4. So during this time, I mean, I could not get enough of Steve. I wanted him all the time. I wanted home. I mean, not just in the intimate way as you're thinking, but I mean, it was just him and I together. I just always wanted to spend time with him.
So next slide. Next slide.
Okay, so we tried to get pregnant. It took us about 2 years to get pregnant. We finally get pregnant, and what happens is that during our 19th week of visitation with the doctor, they're gonna tell us the sex of the baby, which they do. It's a girl, and Steve always wanted a girl first. So we're so excited until the technician says, do you feel any pain? No, I don't feel anything. Are you sure? Are you okay? Yeah, so come to find out, my cervix is dilated. So she's almost on her way out. When we go see our actual doctor, our doctor tells us that we're about to lose her. And so after 2 years of trying, I mean, we've done it all. And to be told that you're gonna lose your baby, it was so hard. So our doctor did not feel comfortable saying, okay, we're gonna just let her go. We're gonna try something. So they did what's called an emergency cerclage, where they sew the cervix, and they did, and it was successful. So everything was well. I had to be placed on bed rest for, until the duration of the pregnancy, but I ended up having her at 25 weeks. And we brought
So
some
when
things
she
with
came, when she came, she was born. You go to the next slide, Henry. So this is Jelena, 25 weeks. 1 pound, 11 ounces. Now you all probably saw Jelena run around here earlier, right? Well, 1 pound, 11 ounces. And she was like 12.25 inches or something like that. This was her first diaper that she had. And as you can see, this diaper in the picture, it's folded in half. Because this diaper was too big for her. So that kind of can show you, and if you can see, that's a lady's hand holding her. Okay? So you can see the difference. One of her outfits, we were walking around the store and we saw a doll, and we said, that probably can fit her. And it didn't because it was too small. Too big, sorry. See that outfit she's wearing there? It's pretty big on her. The exact same outfit. We call this her Sabbath dress. This is what we would put on her every Sabbath. This is a hat that one of her nurses, her respiratory therapist actually made for her. It was a Christmas hat. And she was still too big for her. That's Sandy's pinky finger. As you can see, she can't even wrap her entire hand around Sandy's pinky finger. You also might see that her chest is completely caved in. At that point, she had lost all the bodily fluid and fat, so she had gone on to 1 pound, 4 ounces. You also might notice that she didn't have any nipples. That was a struggle. I panicked because I was just like, what do men like about women? I asked the doctor, I said, do I need to get surgery for her? And the doctor said, be patient. Be patient. It'll come over time. Because there's things that babies develop in the womb that we don't see. So when they come early, we see it. So a few weeks later, they came and I was like, oh my God. So that was a time period for us that brought us closer. We struggled day in and day out for 3 months. She spent 3 months in the hospital. We went to the hospital every single day for 3 months. We spent a minimum of 8 hours at the hospital doing kangaroo care, which is what it is basically skin-to-skin contact, where they put the baby against your skin. It helps them to regulate their body temperature and helps them because they can feel you breathing. It can show them how to breathe and all that on their own. Okay? This is going to come back on in a minute. I'm sorry about that. So we move on to after Jelene comes.
So, Jelene comes, especially 5 months afterwards, we go home with her. We go back to Bermuda. Now, prior to having her, we were in Bermuda. Because she was born early, we had to be flown to Miami to have her, and then go back to Bermuda. So we go back to Bermuda, and all of my attention and devotion is to Jelene. She needs me. And so I get all the attention I used to give Steve, I'm now giving to my daughter.
And the adventure is over. Not in a funny way, but for real, it's over. Now we're in reality.
So now we face our first major trouble.
So in that first major trouble comes an affair. I'm not getting the attention that I need, so I find the attention somewhere else. That's not me in the picture, by the way. But the situation is like that. You don't have to raise your hands or anything, but somebody in here may have dealt with an affair. Whether it be from your parents, it happened between the two of them, or something that's happened in your marriage, or somebody that you know that's been through that.
And in Proverbs 6:32, it says, the one who commits adultery with a woman is lacking sense. He who would destroy himself does it. And that was the thing, when Steve was going through that, it was like he wasn't himself. You could tell that there was something different. Of course, it hurt me, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So the first thing I thought of, we need counseling. So we sought counseling out in Bermuda. And the counselor that we had, she gave us all the textbook knowledge, take this test, then come back. But we didn't really delve into it. So we thought, okay, we did the 5 love language test, which I don't knock it, I love it. But we did it, we discovered what our love language was, and we're like, okay, we got it. And I think after about 5 weeks, we said, yeah, we're good. So we just went home and thought, okay, we're past this hurdle.
And we didn't even ask her if we were good. We were the ones that made the decision. We're good. And we went home. But truth is, we weren't good. So we said, all right, let's figure out a way to make some things better for ourselves. So we decided to move to Atlanta. Sandy already had lived here prior to us getting married, so she had a house, everything was pretty much established, so the transition was gonna be easy, or so we thought.
But it became more challenging than anticipated. So we moved back. Steve's goal was to start a business, so he's working on starting his business. I'm working, and I'm learning how to balance working and then coming home and taking care of a child and taking care of all the other duties in the home. So this is what we're doing. I'm going to work, coming home, taking care of the children. I'm tired, I'm going to bed. Oh yeah, child at the time. And so, once again, my focus is away from Steve. And I'm focusing on all the other things that needs to be done.
Don't get me wrong. Me being here, it was tough because I couldn't start my business like I wanted to. I couldn't find a job. I couldn't get credit. I couldn't get money. I couldn't do anything. I came from being the man of the house, the sole provider for my family. All of a sudden, I can't do anything for my family at all. So I said, you know what, the least I could do is make sure the house is always together. Grass was well manicured all the time. Car's clean. Even cook the food. So when she comes home, she has less stress. She can be happy and focus all her attention on me. Not the case. So, what happens?
Also, I want to point out as well that I feel that I'm being supportive of Steve because I'm working, and I'm not complaining that he's starting a business. I'm not saying, Steve, you need to go out and get a job, or, I'm being as supportive as I can. So I'm coming home, and I figure, okay, he's doing what he needs to do, and I'll support him by not complaining about it, not complaining about the lack of finances, and just be happy. Let him do what he needs to do. But I didn't realize at that point that that's not the kind of support that he was looking for.
So, Sandy gets pregnant again, and she has a miscarriage after about, it was very quick, very, very quick. So she has a miscarriage. And so we decide, you know what, let's go get a dog. And we set up everything for getting a dog. Sandy has 0 experience with dogs. I have a lot of experience with dogs. And somehow we end up with, Pedro, you go to the next slide. 2 dogs. Bella and Sammy. We go to see them, pick them out. I see which one I want. Sandy starts crying, literally, because she doesn't want to separate them because they look just like that, and they're only like 6 weeks old. So somehow, some way, we end up leaving with 2 dogs. We have 1 dog now, just put that out there, but it lasted about a year, and then I had to get rid of 1. It was too much work. Because she said, these are your dogs. You're going to take care of them.
And after that, we run into our second major trouble.
Which is another affair. Why? Because my needs aren't being met. I'm not working. I'm not feeling like I'm fulfilling myself, my role as a man, as a husband. So what do? I find it somewhere else. Because my wife's not giving me the attention that I need. Because she's still dealing with miscarriage, a whole bunch of other stuff, and she can't focus on me. So what happens? The affair happens. And I'm gonna be real with you guys because we're being transparent, so I'm gonna be transparent. The affair starts at church. Don't be fooled and think that when you're in church, you're guarded, and that trouble won't find you or your marriage. It finds me in church. So that affair happens. But in the midst of that affair, Sandy gets pregnant. With Riley. And this time when Sandy gets pregnant with Riley, because I'm now partially checked out because I've cheated before, the second time it's easier, right? So this is easy, I'm checked out. I ain't gotta do this anymore. So what happens? We fight, we argue, we fight, we argue. And as we fight and we argue, we split up. She goes to stay with a friend, with Jeline, while she's pregnant. Now, in the midst of this, because of her condition, with her cervix, she's on bed rest. So she's been sent, so I sent her out of the house to go stay somewhere else, not with me, because we were beefing. So she goes to stay with a friend, and she's just, at this point, she's also checked out. She doesn't care. So she's walking up and down stairs, which she shouldn't have been doing, because the doctor said no. And what happens? Her water breaks with Riley at 28 weeks. So the friend calls me to say, hey.
And our friend is Keisha.
Yeah, Keisha's here. So the friend calls me and says, hey, you know, just something's up with Sandy. She's going to the hospital. You might want to, you know. And where was I? With this person that I was supposedly having a better life with.
Now, before then, before all of that happened, we did start counseling again. So I reached out to a friend and they did tell us about the marriage mentors, which is Sonia and Derek. And we meet with Sonia and Derek and they start working with us. Now this is where true counseling comes in, and this is why I encourage couples, most couples, if we recommend counselors, we typically recommend Sonia and Derek, and we can't think of anyone else, it's always them. And the reason is because
They're the best.
they're transparent and they work through your discomfort. Because when you go to counseling, you have to share the most vulnerable and intimate details of yourself. If you avoid it, you're not gonna find healing. So we go to Sonia and Derek, and that's what happens. They start to work through all the uncomfortable things that we did not want to talk about. So while you're going through the discomfort, like we would go to counseling and get in the car and then just start arguing and just get angrier
Or
and
not talk
angrier,
at
or
all
not
for the
talk.
entire drive home.
And all throughout that time, we're trying to fix our problem, and we want it to happen overnight. And because it's not happening overnight, the affair continues and I start to shut down.
So Riley comes at 28 weeks. And we don't realize how the stuff that we're going through is affecting our children. Because we don't realize the impact that our parents, or that parents period, have on their children's lives. See, for me, my parents had me when my dad had just turned 18 a month before I was born. My mom turned 17 2 weeks after I was born. They broke up 9 months after I was born. So my example of a relationship was what? None. Yes, I grew up with my grandparents, who were a great example to me, but as my parents, I didn't have an example. So when it came time for me to be in a relationship, be in a marriage, and be committed to that, I didn't know how to commit to that at all. So.
And also, we're learning, like I said, we're going to Sonia Derek, we're getting a lot of, we're learning a lot about ourselves. So you don't realize the pain that you're going through until you are, you don't realize the hurt that you've been holding on to for so many years. So Steve, we're realizing in his family dynamics, the way his mom treated him, because we even talked about this last week. His mom appeared to prefer his siblings more than him. She would give more attention to them than she would to him. The way she would speak to him was different. But then she was hurting too. There was a lot of things going on in her life, or things that she was carrying that was causing her to act that way towards Steve, and even her other sons. And then with me, I grew up very insecure because I was made fun of for my complexion. I was made fun of for being Haitian. That's my background. And so I grow up like this, and this is how they're treating me. And even my parents, I love them to death, but one of the things that they would always say to me was, oh, why don't you use this whitening cream? It might lighten you up. So even my parents were putting this idea in my head that who I am is not beautiful. And so I'm growing up feeling that way. And interestingly enough, last week, Steve and I, we were, Intentional Families started a group on Marco Polo. And if you don't know what Marco Polo is, it's a video app. And so we're talking every day to the Marco Polo group. And one morning we wake up and Steve says, okay, you want to send a message? I'm like, I need to fix my face first. And he's like, what? I don't get it. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, it's you women, right? And when he said that, I was like, it's not, because I had to explain to Steve that this insecurity for me was deeper than what he thought. You know, it's not just, oh, I don't feel pretty, so, you know, I need to get up, or that I'm being superficial. It really hurts. I'm really in pain if I wake up and you're asking me to put my face on Marco Polo. On the other side of it,
and it shocked me because I didn't know. I knew it was an issue, but I didn't know it was still an issue.
yeah, because I started
And
crying.
she started crying. And I was like, uh-oh.
But on the other
Steve.
side of it, Steve, because he was just like, I just don't get it. It made me feel like, oh, he doesn't get it because he must think I'm attractive when I first wake up in the morning. Because he just was like, I just don't get it, just go on Marco Polo.
After 11
so
years.
in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he doesn't mind me going on Marco Polo. So it ended up, I got up, I went to the
I don't have a choice. It's
bathroom,
been 11 years, I'm just saying.
and I tried, I was about to do my face, and I didn't. And I went on Marco Polo, and I did it. So for the first time was when for the first time I felt comfortable in my own skin. Woo! And go on.
Yeah, she's hot. She's a hottie.
But these are, I say that to say that these are what our parents sometimes do to us. And on the next slide, it says that no one intentionally tries to destroy their children. So no one ever wants to put that pain. Like even Steve and I, sometimes we're talking and we're like, okay, what are we doing that may cause Julene, Riley, or Stevie to sit on the couch in front of counselors like we did. And we're like, we can't do that. What can we do different, you know? And we try, but you never can avoid because we're all human. So, but that is so forefront in our minds that we want to raise healthy children and break the cycle.
So, move on. 2 more slides there, Edwin. 1 more. So here comes Rock. So, I don't know if you could see it in our faces, but a few weeks after this, I leave the house.
No, you were gone.
Oh, yeah, I was gone. So, we were barely even together, but this is Riley. Both of us, we don't have a picture of the 2 of us together with her as a family, because at that point in time, I wasn't trying to have a family. And we were just going further and further and further apart. And it hurt. Crazy part about it is that it did actually hurt me. It hurt me. I remember one day I went to the house, picked up Julene, was in the playground doing what I think is a good thing to do, like a father. My dad did it. And then I left the house, and I literally sat in the driveway and I cried, because I'm doing this to my family. And in the meantime, we were off and on going to therapy. And they're telling us, you know, guys, you gotta dig deep, you gotta work on this, you gotta work on this. I had no interest in working at all.
And if you go to the previous slide where Riley, we put this up there because on the right, you notice all the comments we're getting. Congrats guys, congratulations. This is supposed to be a happy occasion, but we're not happy. And
again, living life through social media.
Mhm.
Oh, they're so happy.
Right. Right.
Meanwhile, we're not even together.
Mercy.
So, then we move on. This is still Riley. We go one more ahead there.
Oh, and prior to moving on to our third child, we work with Sonia and Derek. I mean, the thing about Sonia and Derek is that they won't let you just sit there and say you're okay, because they know you're not okay. So they're gonna work with you. And then, so we had to get uncomfortable. We had to talk. And one of the things that came to my mind, well, Derek said this to me in counseling. Derek said, Steve and I were having an argument in front of them. And Derek said to me, you see what you just said to Steve? That just triggered what his mom would have done to him. And I had seen and witnessed how his mom treated him. And I was like, I can't be his mom. And that's when it hit me that although I'm doing everything I can to help him, I wasn't meeting his needs. I was doing everything I thought I should be doing, but I wasn't really asking him what it is that he needed from me, or even trying to find that out. So at that point, I went home and I prayed and I was like, Lord, no matter what, I am going to love Steve because that's what you called me to do. And even if he does not give me that love back, I will still love him. And that's what I chose to do. And when I did, that's when everything started to work out between Steve and I. So we're working things out, and you know, things seem so great. And it really was. But then I get pregnant again, which, to be honest, I did not want 3 kids. So when God, when I conceived again, I couldn't believe God would do that to me, because he just knew I did not want a 3rd child, but he did. And he ended up being Stevie, ended up being one of the greatest blessings to us.
So, in that time period of us getting back together, so we thought, you know, life's better, life's great. Don't be fooled by the cute face. Just saying, don't be fooled by that face. So, we get back together, but we still haven't fixed the problem at all. So then we face another challenge, which is what? Same trend, another affair. And this time, where does it take place to? Again, in the church. Another person. Seeing what we're trying to do, The devil sees what we're trying to do. He jumps in and says, nope, I'm gonna flip the switch on you again. But this time, see, I did it once, I did it twice, it got easier. I did it a third time, I had completely checked out of my head. I don't know what food was in this body, but it wasn't the one that my mother raised, definitely. I was a different person. I did not care at all about my wife, about my children. I didn't care. I was like, yo, we're gonna figure this out. We're just gonna live separately. We're gonna have separate lives. We're gonna have 2 Christmases and 2 birthdays. That's just what life's gonna be about. Because at this point, my needs not being met, I can't really do what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm a man, I can deal with this. The Bible said I put aside my childish ways. I did. Or did I? I thought I was a man. I thought I was grown. The other part, too, I wanted to add to that is that my wife, she talks about my needs not being met, how she wasn't meeting my needs, but how was I affecting her? The person who was teased because of her skin complexion, called ugly. Now, every single time that I'm having an affair, how much further am I pushing her into a hole? Every single time. Every single time. It pushed her deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole.
And believe it or not, all this is happening April of last year. So this is April 2017 when I find out about the third affair. Between April and June, I'm really not knowing how to handle this again. I can't do it. And so one morning I remember waking up with the kids, and I had to bring the kids to my parents' house or to summer camp, I can't remember. And as we were going out, I was thinking, you know, if I just go to sleep, never wake up again, and put the kids to sleep, and they don't have to bear with the pain of mommy not waking up again, then that would be better. And then that thought scared me, so I said, I need to get help. I really do. And I started reading this book that taught me that I am just perpetuating this behavior. I'm allowing it to happen because I'm always trying to figure out, how can I meet your needs? How can I better be a better wife? Or how can I do this? And so I told Steve, I remember he had to go out of town. This was in June of 2017, and I told him when he left, he was on a plane to go to Florida, and I read every single message that he and this other woman were sending to each other, and they communicated through Facebook Messenger, and I read every single message, and when I read it, it gave me the strength to say no more. One thing that I thought that it made me realize as well when it comes to adultery is that you don't even respect the woman that you're sleeping with, because some of the things he was saying to her, I almost felt bad for her, because I'm like, you're letting him talk to you this way, or you're letting him, you know, use you in this way, and she's not even recognizing it. So I called her even, and I told her, you can have him. And I told her, just know that you have taken a man away from his wife and his children, and I will be praying for you. And I told Steve that if he calls, he can talk to the children, but not to me. So Steve was calling and talking to the kids, and I refused to get on the phone. I told him when he came back from Florida, he needed to find another place to stay. And when he did come back, is when we started talking, and we said we needed to go back to the marriage menders. We didn't until September, or was it? I think it was September, like end of August, September. Sonia and Derek calls us and tells us, look, we're starting this therapy group, so there are gonna be a few couples, and we want you to come. And we're like, okay. I remember telling someone, you know what, we really can't afford it. And we thought, okay, we're working on things. And they had prayed about it. See, that's why I say they're amazing. they prayed about it and they called us and they said, we really feel convicted that you need to be here. And we did, we went.
And I just wanted to add real quick that in that time, Sandy revealed to me her thoughts and plans about taking her life and my children's life. And in her process of revealing that to me, that's when God literally gave me that knockout and said, wake up, because this is over and gone if you continue on this same road. And I knew at that point in time that I had to do something about it. So,
When I told Steve to, I didn't think he was gonna care. Like, because he was doing this so much that I just didn't think he would care that if I had taken my life, that it would bother him. It would probably make things easier for him. And his response was different and I didn't expect it. And at the same time, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, he's still with this other woman, so who cares? And I just had an attitude of, I don't care anymore. So a couple things happened. We go to the group therapy with Sonia and Derek, and we realized, man, we're not that bad. You know, like, because when you see other people's situation and what they're going through, and to have people go through something, you had people there that were going worse than us, and that just didn't seem possible to me. That was one, and then another thing is, our old church where we were attending, one of the things I realized was that there was no one I can call there to pray. There was no one I can call and pray with. And I was like, well, what type of church family is that? So.
and to add to that, you know, when it came to light, it was just, you need to step down from your positions and don't do this again. Not, come, do you need therapy? Do you need counseling? Can we pray for you?
And me as the victim didn't even get that. So I didn't feel like I had anyone to relate to, and I just stopped going to church altogether. Until a friend, well, for those of you who come here, Jude and Lola invited me here. And so I came, and one of the best things that happened to me was being invited to a small group. That small group saved me. It changed who I was. Because I was not happy. And I was so ready to give up on God, my family, and everything. So the therapy, coming to Fusion, has really helped Steve and I, and our children. And once we started recognizing that, we started to become better parents. We had no patience with our kids before. None. And now we can't, they go to my parents' house and we're just like, okay, we can't wait to get them. I mean, not that badly, but you know, we want them around and we love them and we want to do more with them.
Through this process, we can go to the next slide, Edgar. Sandy started to learn her role as a wife.
Yes. So what it made me realize was this. You know the story of Hosea in the Bible, right? And how his wife was an adulteress. Okay, so I realized that God has chosen me to marry Steve to help Steve get redemption. And that my role was to help him get into the kingdom of heaven. And that shook me. I was like, wow, Lord, you want me to work together with you as a helpmate to help him get into the kingdom of heaven. And that was a powerful, powerful mission that God has given me. I just didn't see it before. And now that I do, I can handle things a lot differently, and I can cope with things a lot differently.
So then, what did I learn as a husband? sitting with Sonia and Derek. And Sonia says, well, why do you keep doing this, Steve? And I said, well, I'm just not happy. So then Sonia says these words, and she became the evilest person I knew. She says, marriage is not to make you happy, it's to make you holy. And I said, what? I wanted to kind of go across the room and kind of lay one on her, but Derek's bigger than me, and he was kind of sitting in between us, so I changed my mind real quick. But it didn't make sense. What are you taught? Those of you guys that are single right now, when are you going to get married so you can be happy? Before you got married, when are you going to get married so you can be happy? That's what you're taught. That's what your family teaches you. That's what they tell you. When are you going to be married? Marriage brings happiness. Now I have a person telling me it ain't about that. It's to make you holy. So I left her that night, the entire drive home, because they live far. They live in South Carolina. I'm just kidding. They're almost in South Carolina. So the whole drive home, and I'm saying to myself, what did she mean? So then God had me go to sleep, and he gave me a dream. He gave me a vision. And in that vision, I'm standing at the pearly gates. I like movies. I make videos and films, those of you guys that don't know. So I'm very visual. So I'm at that pearly gate. And I'm standing before the judgment. And God's saying, why should you have access to heaven? Why should I let you in right now? I said, I got this, Lord. I was a praise team leader. I fed the homeless. I did outreach. I did Bible studies. You name it. I did it. I did it, Lord. I did everything you asked me to do. I deserve to be in heaven right now. And you know what he said to me? Did you fight for your marriage? Did you fight for your marriage? 6 days God created what? Heavens and the earth. On the 6th day he created who? On the 7th day he created the Sabbath, rest. The Sabbath is a covenant, yes? But before the Sabbath covenant, what came? Marriage. I didn't fight for that covenant at all. I don't deserve to be in heaven. Hedron, you can go to the next slide. What we have to understand is that we have to build our marriages on a better foundation. Build our relationships on a better foundation. Men, and I'll speak for men, we're out there, you see a girl, we check her out. Yeah, I like that one right there. I think I might have that one right there. I'm pretty sure most of you fellas, when you found your wife or your girlfriend or whoever, that you were just like, it's gonna be that one right there. And I'm gonna marry her. But we never took time to create it. We never took time to build that foundation. The Bible talks about the story between the man, the wise man and the foolish man, the man that built his house on the rock, and the man that built his house on the sand. What happened? Storms came, and they blew the house down. The man that had his house on the rock, the solid foundation, which was Jesus Christ, it stood firm.
So, another thing about the foundation that Steve was talking about is that the reason we didn't give up completely is because we had a foundation. So you saw we had the baby, we had Julene at 25 weeks. We fought over her together. We prayed together. We were strong together. We were best friends since high school. We were always together. And because we built that foundation, it was hard for us to just give up and walk away.
So, through all of that, I'm going to go to the next slide, Hedron. This is us. This is us. I don't look like what I've been through. You don't see what we just told you in that story. You know why? Because this is now our real story.
Amen.
Praise God that He's brought us to this real story. So we just want to encourage you guys and know that you don't have to give up.
Amen.
There is a better way
Amen.
to do it.
Amen.
And we want to leave with a charge to the singles. The question to ask yourself, what areas in your life you believe needs healing? Go back in your past, the areas that you felt uncomfortable with, the areas that are hurting you, and address them, even if it means going to those people that hurt you. Steve spoke to someone, and he was saying that that person couldn't go back to someone because they had passed away. Or if you remember, Sullivan Phillips speaking to us a month ago and telling us that his dad passed away. He didn't have a chance to make that healing. Sully's here today, by the way. He didn't have that chance to ask for forgiveness or to say, Dad, I'm sorry. But you can still find healing.
And let me just help you guys understand what it is that we're saying here. See, we're messy people, right? But I'm a messy person. I was messed up before I met her. She was messed up before she met me. I didn't take the time out to get the healing I needed before getting married to her. And as a result of that, we've become messed up people. But guess what? If we didn't take the opportunity to fix that, Julene, Steve, and Riley, who would they be? Who would my grandkids be? That's something we have to think about. It's about choice. So if you're single out there right now, and you're saying, I want to get married. I want to have a boo. You guys are so lucky. We're not lucky. We're not blessed. We are blessed. We are. You have to understand this. If you can't fix yourself first, then you cannot be who you need to be later in life. Because guess what? If you go into your marriage with your mess, with your baggage, you will be sitting in a counselor's chair. And that's if you choose to go. Go to the next slide, Adrian.
2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here.
Amen.
And, for that verse we picked for the singles, because in Christ, He can do away with all the pain and all the hurt and bring you healing.
If you seek God first, singles, if you seek Him first, He's going to tell you who's next. I heard that on the men's group this week, so I stole it. My bad. But if you seek God first, He's going to tell you who's next. Don't go searching for it. Be patient and wait on Him.
And to the married folks, what plans will you have in place to avoid destruction in your home?
So think about that for a minute. Now, we gave you guys a couple of examples here, but I need you guys to think about this. No matter where your marriage is right now, because you may be sitting here and because you're too embarrassed to say that my marriage has problems. And that's okay. You don't have to tell it. But stop faking it. Okay? Because a lot of us, we come to church, but before we get to church, we wake up, and this is this morning. I'm just gonna talk about what happened in my house. Babes, kid's not ready. The house is not ready. Come on, we gotta go. We gotta go. My heart rate's going up. I'm gonna preach today. I'm gonna do this today. I'm gonna do that today. And you're taking forever. I gotta go pick up the drummer. I gotta have set the praise team up before we come. Hurry up, let's go. Okay, we're good. Get in the car. We get to church. Happy Sabbath. Happy Sabbath. How are you today? See my beautiful wife. Happy Sabbath. I love her so much. But yet, I was mad at her this morning. Just this morning. That happens to every single one of us. Stop faking. I'm not saying don't come to church, but be real. Be real. Hit the reset button. Hit that reset button. I should have had a picture of a reset button so you could understand that. hit that reset button. We need to have renovation and restoration. Yes, we built our house on a solid, firm foundation, which is amazing. That's awesome. That's what we're supposed to do. But what happens with an old house over time? It deteriorates, right? We've got to go back. So we have a choice. We have a choice. I'm not picking on you, Eddie, but I looked at you and I just, Eddie, right? Over time, right? You can either say to Cassandra, babes, this house got problems, we're gonna buy another one. Or you're gonna fix it, right? Instead of stepping up and saying, you know, I'm gonna find another woman or another man, fix it, repair it. What happens when you renovate? Oh, it looks real nice. It looks real nice. Rebuild that foundation. In your marriage, we talked about this for singles, but sometimes in your marriage, because you didn't take that time to figure it out when you were single, you may have to go back and forgive someone from your past. I still have to do that with my parents. Haven't done it yet. Still have to do it. And I'm afraid. I don't like confrontation. For those that don't know, I spent 12 years working in law enforcement, kicked people's heads in, loved it day in and day out, chase anybody down, warrants on people's houses, I don't care. But I hate confrontation. I'm afraid of it. Because when a person comes to me and says, hey, you did wrong, tell me I gotta go talk to my parents and sit down, mom and dad, because it ain't gonna be together, because they're not together, right? I gotta go back. But sometimes you need to also ask for forgiveness from somebody in your past, someone who you may have hurt. Forgiving your spouse, rebuilding the trust, asking for forgiveness. That's what we gotta do.
And storms in marriage are inevitable, but destruction is optional. So you have a choice, married couples, you know, to avoid destruction. The storms are gonna come. Our marriage is built on a foundation. The storms came in our marriage.
That's what building your house on a solid foundation or the sand is all about. That's what that text was about when it comes to marriage. The storm is gonna come. Look at yesterday. It was bright and sunny. All of a sudden, boom, everything's done, right? So you gotta work on that.
And the sun comes back out, you know, so we encourage all couples and singles alike to please consider what we have said today. And also, intentional families is something that we've started here.
Yes.
And we want to continue.
Amen.
And it's not just for the married folks. It really isn't. If you're single contemplating a relationship going into it further, please come out. We shared a lot of information and we would love for you all to be able to dialogue with us and ask us any questions that you may